Good morning. Good morning, everybody. How are y'all doing? Good morning, Chris, Shadow, Benton. Everybody else, good morning. Morning, David. How are y'all doing? So this drop is beautiful. This is what I wanted. I was watching this because I am a long bias. So I wanted to see price to drop down in this area before looking for a long. And I wanted to see it leave this buy side liquidity up here. So I'm going to have to jump right into this analysis because the market is expanding and it's looking beautiful. Yep. All-time high. Here we come. Here we come. This is going to be the manipulation. Sweep out all the sell stops. Get everybody out of there and then go to all-time high. Let's break it down. As I've mentioned the last couple weeks, we needed to see price get out of this little area here. Depending on which side it came out of would be, the side I have to be my bias on. So last week I was mentioning if we get this fair value gap here, I would have to watch that and displacement up through these highs and through last month's high. And then I marked out the low of this candle, which was the high of the SIBI, the bearish fair value gap here. I was looking at that to see if we close up through there, which we did. And then we have, we don't have this yet, but this is what I want to watch. If we get another fair value gap right here on the daily chart, right? Because this bar has to close. So I wanted to mark this out so I can show right here if we get this fair value gap or if we're going to immediately rebalance this today. My guess is we'll probably get it, and then I'll be looking to see if it holds up as support. And right now, I have to have the bias of we're just going to come up to all-time high because there's no reason, unless we get an immediate rebalance here today. And then the next thing to look at would be this fair value gap here to see if we invert it or not. I don't think we do. I think we get this fair value gap, and then at that point, I'll be looking to see if we invert it or not. 15-minute chart. I got a little pop-up over here. 15-minute chart. This is what I'm looking at. I wanted to see price trade down into this area. As you can see, and because we have these imbalances here, these 15-minute fair value gaps, I wanted to see price because we were running up here. We left these volume imbalances. I noted this little 15-minute fair value gap. We have all this minor sell side liquidity. And then I wanted to see it leave this here as we came up right here. So close. This is going to be some really, really nice buy side liquidity at the London high. I wanted to see a sweep down here, trade into these fair value gaps, any of these fair value gaps. And then I have down here marked as a higher sell side liquidity. But as you can see, it traded right down to last week's high. So I don't think we might, trickle down and kind of trade down here, but I don't think we really just run short today. I'm looking for a long, and I really love the fact that we left this buy side liquidity up here. And, like I said, wipe out all the sell stops first, and then we can go up through all-time high. Now, here's a kicker. Tomorrow, we have Fed funds rate. So, at 2 p.m., price action today could be here or there. You really, within the first hour, you got to find what you're looking for. Otherwise, price could be, the market could be setting up for tomorrow afternoon. I'm not trading tomorrow morning because FOMC. I don't trade the day of that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens here. But I prefer a long today. So let's see. Let's see our opening range gap here. We have the open up here. We have the close down here. Opening range gap. We have not traded down to the midpoint of it yet. And it's a 214, 257. It might not trade all the way down yet. Or it might not trade all the way down. It's a pretty large gap. If I mark out the quarters here, where's my 75? There it is. We've already traded down to the highest quarter, the top half, the top quarter. So we'll see if it trades down any further or not. All right. Now we wait. Oh, tomorrow's meeting minutes? Oh, yeah, you're probably right because the Fed funds rate happens sooner or earlier in the month. Let me make sure. Yeah, it's the meeting minutes. It could still cause price action to be not the best, but it's not a day that I won't trade. So yeah, I'll be here tomorrow. Nice, Chris. Nudge and ICT. But let's see. We got to be patient, though, right? So we definitely got to be patient and wait. Could actually get a market maker buy model today. So yeah, that's what I prefer. If we just keep running short, I would wait to see if we do sweep these areas, but I really don't think we're going to go much lower than what we did right here where we tapped last week's high. I don't think we do, but we'll wait and find out. There's no other news today, so yep. How's everybody's weekend? Last weekend feels like I hadn't. And actually, I won't be streaming Thursday and Friday. My son we're going to our regionals for basketball, so that'll be the end of the week. Yeah, so keep y'all's financial juice up because you never know what kind of. And Trump he's speaking tonight, but there's also it also says that he's tentatively speaking at some point today too. So just be careful. But yeah, I won't be streaming Thursday and Friday because we'll be away. We'll be out of town at our basketball tournament. Then we have one more. We have nationals next month. So after that, we'll be clear. Basketball season will be over. He's 16. Son is 16. There's a lot of red news popping up with Ukraine's president Zelensky here. I don't think, just talking about postponing his visit to Saudi Arabia. So just you want to make sure and keep your eye on stuff that could potentially swing the market. Yes, pretty much correlated. YM's pretty correlated, but it's trying to come back up. We had this volume imbalance right here, which we already traded up through and traded back down. Another one here. No first presented fair value gap just yet. I'm really looking for price to run up through this 320 area, London high. And then just the rest of the day, like I said, I don't know if it'll get to all-time high today, but it might. By the time it does that, it'll probably be, I won't be trading. So let's see. Yeah, so pretty much right now, I'm not going to do anything until I make sure that we've had enough draw, then look for a clear shift back up. Do I also trade my personal account or just prop firms? I trade both personal and prop. So this leader here that I have connected to Trading View is my personal live account. I have that with Ninja Trader Brokerage. And because Ninja Trader and Tradeovate are the same company now, Ninja Trader bought Tradeovate, I can just log into Tradeovate with my credentials from Ninja Trader Brokerage, and it pulls it up here, connected inside my Ninja Trader platform where all my Apex accounts are, and just copy it from there. Good morning, Binge. My bias is long for the day. I'm thinking we start trying to make our way to all-time highs, whether that's today, tomorrow, or the next day. I believe we're gonna go up and try to go to all-time highs again. We got to be careful though. We got to make sure, because here's the thing. If everybody thinks it's going to go to all-time highs again, I need to make sure the right people think that. Not every single person out there. Because if every single person out there thinks it's going to all-time highs, everybody on this stream here, on this chat, we're good. We can all think it's going to all-time highs. But if everybody else on everybody else's stream starts thinking it's going to all-time highs, we might need to, market might need to do a little shakeout first. Trying to look. Yeah. So basically, we just got to wait right now. Yeah, we'll have that 15-minute fair value gap. But again, that's the opening bar. We'll have this opening bar. We do have this one up here. But then we'll have a opening bar fair value gap, which I take as a 50-50. But you see, we are reaching down, so we might sweep this low. We'll see. Either way, I'm holding out for. Or let me get rid of these. I'm holding out for a run back up. But like I said, it might not happen today, but we'll see. We do need to have a sweep because we have this draw down here. I want to see it. Now we're so close here. I want to see it sweep this sell side and then head back up. Yeah, I'm going to look at this here as our first presented fair value gap. Because, yeah, that's a small little fair value gap, but then it really started displacing here at 944. So I'm going to look at this. Oh, yeah. That's what I'm missing. I had my daily high and low there, and then I forgot I erased it and didn't put it back on. Right there. There we go. And this just keeps running down, then I'm not going to do anything. Yeah, Chris is answering those right there about the VPS. Yeah. And before I built my computer to handle trading multiple accounts, because you do want to have a computer that's good enough to handle multiple accounts and the processing and all that, have a good computer. And if you don't, then you may want to use a VPS. That's what I did for a while when I had just a cheap laptop. Actually, it wasn't even cheap. It was an i7, and I thought it was good, but I didn't understand benchmark or RAM and all that at the time. So it used to lag, especially days with higher volatility. If I'd enter a trade and then you'd hear like the delay with, order filled, order. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? Well, my computer wasn't quite up to the standard needed. So then I got a VPS with a company, and basically it has everything you need, and it's close to the CME servers and all that stuff. So they basically guarantee you like 99% uptime. And I used that for like a year before I built my computer. But now there's that company that you see on my flyer, Edge Trader, that blows that other company away. Yeah, that's the other thing. If you lose power, so you got to think about it. It's like a computer just running on a server the whole time, right? So you could shut everything down. Your computer could lock up. You could, everything shut down, right? And your power go out, but it'll still be running on the server. So if you have a trade open, then nothing will happen. Like it won't knock you out. It'll still be running on the server. So just make sure you have a stop in place. That way, in case you can't, get back to it in time. But then you can also hop on your phone and close out there, pop it open. So all right, we're under that sell side liquidity now. This is where I'm going to look to see Where do we stop? So now if you see here, I don't have anything else underneath, right? So what I do is go back to the 15 minute. We took this sell side liquidity here. Where could we draw to? Right now, we have this fair value gap. It never fully closed. So if I mark this one out, because now I got to figure out if it keeps going down, where's it going to go down to? I'll draw that one out. Then you have this one here that's obvious. Then you have these equal lows right here, right at last month high. So I'm going to mark out this one. And basically, I'm just seeing where we're going to draw to. We might even draw down to this daily fair value gap down here. Remember what I said at the beginning. I'd be interested to see if we immediately rebalance this potential fair value gap. I don't think it will, but it could. And if it does, it's likely to come down to this daily fair value gap right here. This daily fair value gap. And then watch this. Look at this wick right here. The middle of the wick is right in that area too. So we'll see. I don't think we go all the way down there, but it's always possible. It is always possible. So now we have a point internal range liquidity here. And each time we hit one of these, I look on the 1 minute or the 5 minute. Where's my 5 minute? There's my 5 minute. Or the 5 minute, and I start looking to see if we invert fair value gaps or have a clear market structure shift, stuff like that. You see, and preferably I want to be back above this sell side liquidity if we start shifting to the long side. And with this big fair value gap right here being 915, if price does make its way back up there, I expect it to rebalance this. I'm going to leave it there just in case so we can have a visual. And get rid of this minor sell side liquid. Whoa, I almost hit the order button there. Get rid of this minor sell side liquidity. See how we stayed? We traded through the 15 minute, and then we're closing above the midpoint here. So this is now balanced. We have this little inversion. So that's a first signal, and then we may get a fair value gap right here. We've already closed that opening range gap. So this is not one, though, I would want to just go long in yet. It's 953. I would want to see if we build some support up in any of these this fair value gap area, primarily where this inversion is. Low, high, lower, low. So this potentially is a breaker as well. So right in this area, 197, 196. I actually like a long in this area. And then this would be an order block as well. Right there. Got a lot going on right here. I do like this whole area right here because I am long biased. I don't think we reach down any further. I won't go long if we tap up here, but if we build up a little bit of support right in this area, 190 to 200 area, I may look for a long there. We don't have any 5 minute bearish fair value gaps, so that's good. We got this a little bit of a fair value gap there as well. Let's see if I can make this larger. But I really want to see it come down into here where this inversion is, and this kind of hold this area right here. All right, I'm looking in this area to see if we can hold somewhere in there. I don't think these 15-minute inversions are going to be have any effect on anything. Just got to be patient. Be patient. I mean, you got to remember too, we have a long ways if we do go bullish, we have a long ways up there, right? That price can just keep going. So we don't have to worry about missing anything. Do not have to worry about missing anything at all. I have 2 minutes and we'll get that 15-minute fair value gap, even though, like I said, it's the opening bar fair value gap. And it's a 50-50 on getting traded through. Okay, we just last week's high is right there as well. Yesterday's high, last week's high. All right, we just tapped that fair value gap. I'll be ready. I'm not going long yet, but I'll be ready. If we could build up a little, hold a little support here. What I don't want is it to just shoot down through, hit that breaker. Yeah. Not too convinced just yet. I mean, because that was just a nasty little wick and out. Like, it didn't really trade into it. That might be all at once, but it's about to be 10 a.m. So I'm going to wait till that 10 a.m. hits, because usually we'll get a little spike of volatility. Yeah. That was just, I didn't like the way that wick was. See? It's hitting that inversion. I want to see it trade in and build some support there. Especially if we could hit that order block. I guess I hit the wick of the order block. Waiting. See, we might get a fair value gap right here. So I want to be sure that we're going to hold up some support here before I go. All right, now it's inside this order block. Yeah, that's why I didn't enter this one. Right to the almost the midpoint of this wick. So I want to watch this wick here and see if it trades below the midpoint of it. There's the midpoint right there. You entered, Chris? Patience, my friend. See, now this is an inversion. Let's get rid of this one. Now I'll still watch this breaker because every PD array has an inversion to it. So this is now an inversion here. We got that 15-minute fair value gap for 945. And then we have this fair value gap and this fair value gap. Here, let's go to the 15-minute. We have this 15-minute one here now. Since we basically went through everything, this 15-minute fair value gap, I will need it to either get traded to or invert. Because we might not come back up this morning. We'll see. You just created another little fair value gap right here. Bunch of little gaps right here. And what could happen is this. One of two things can happen. Either this area is going to hold and we're going to keep running short. Or we're going to invert these here. And this was just another stop run right here. 10 a.m. That's why I wanted to wait till after 10 a.m. Because you can get a spike of volatility. And this could be a stop run. And if we start inverting these, then we may be ready to go up. See, we reach down to this lower 15-minute fair value gap now. But you got to also be in the mindset of you can have your bias, but you have to be open-minded still. You still have to be open-minded because it may not go. So now I'm watching this area. I mean, we could just continue down from this area, or what I think may happen is we start inverting these and head up. So we'll see. It's only 10:04, so we wait. Wait. Reaching into this little fair value gap right here. SIBI. If price wants to be bearish today, it may not come back up higher than this. So we'll see. I just don't have much. Let's see. Let's go to the 1 hour. I mean, unless if we're going to take a run down to the daily fair value gap. We got the 4 hour here. Yeah, I don't mark out the 4 hour fair value gaps when there's 15-minute ones overlapping. But we'll see if it takes this 15-minute fair value gap right here, then we may trade down to this daily fair value gap. And right now, the 4-hour is taking these lows, this swing low, and still 4 hours from now. But if we get a 4-hour fair value gap right here, a bearish one, we may have a potential shift down. So it came right up into the middle here. This area I want to see. It's not very obvious, right? So like, as y'all seen some days last week, had a great week last week, right? And the good days were obvious. I had that one losing day where I took kind of a gamble. If it's not obvious, don't trade it. I'm kind of neutral at the moment, David, as far as bias for my trade, because I want to see now what this area does here that we're in. If this area holds as resistance, then yes, I think we may trade down lower and head down. But if we trade back up through this 210-ish area, then we may go up. Is that what you did, Chris? Yeah, mix it up a little bit. So we invert in. Hold on, let's clean this up a little bit because this is looking a little ugly here. And see, also, the thing is, when you start getting fair value gaps, then it inverts it. Fair value gaps, inversion, fair value gaps, inversions. Like, you don't really want to be a part of that. So now, I really need price to come up through this 15-minute. Actually, I'm going to get rid of this 1 minute here to clean it up. Like, I really need price to come up through this 15-minute, basically through this whole down leg here. I want price to take this swing high and go ahead and trade through this first presented fair value gap. If that doesn't happen, I'm not taking a trade. Because if that doesn't happen, we're likely to keep going short. And I mean, I could take a short. There's plenty of targets down here. It's not necessarily my model, but because I like reversals. But I mean, it's pretty clear, in my opinion. If we can't take this leg down, if we can't trade up through this high, in my opinion, it's pretty clear we're going to continue down. So we're in that inversion. There's a little fair value gap right there too, but I'm not really concerned about the little area right here. Like, I'm not concerned about that, to be honest. I'm more so looking at this entire leg. That's pretty much my thoughts on that, David. If it trades up above that 15-minute, up above that little leg I just pointed, then I think we're going to be bullish. If not, we may head down. And I would have last month's high would be a nice target. Previous day low would be a nice target, which is that daily fair value gap. And that's what I was saying. You have this buy side liquidity up here that we engineered. Very clear buy side liquidity. We're going to go up and through that. I have very little doubt that we don't go through that. But like I said earlier, it may not be today. I expected, that was my bias, but it might not. Might not be today. I at least wanted to touch this 15-minute fair value gap before anything happens. This one here, because see, it popped into this one. Then it created that one. So I'd at least like to see it come back to it and see what it does. Because I'm not opposed to taking a short. Because sometimes when price is very obvious, you have to go with it no matter what your bias is. And at the same time, yeah, if it's not obvious to start, you have to wait till it becomes obvious. If it never does, then just don't take a trade. But you see how, like, this little fair value gap, inverted it, created this little fair value gap, reclaiming that one, inverting that one. Like, we just keep going back and forth and back and forth. If you look at that 5-minute, look where the bodies are closing right now. I'm going to say that, and then it's going to close down below. But just notice where the bodies are closing. And realistically, if nothing happens by about 10, 20-ish, if nothing's really looking like it's going to happen, then I'm not going to risk anything today. Okay, we have a market structure shift on the 1 minute now. See this swing high here? We made this lower low, have this swing high, little pullback here, taking this swing high. I still would feel more comfortable if we took this high because we have that 15-minute fair value gap right here that we could just be reaching right up into. So just give it a minute, see what it does here. Again, note the bodies on the 5-minute. Okay, then look at the 15-minute, the body. The bodies still haven't closed underneath that sell side liquidity yet. Just wicking down, wicking down. So something to watch. Let's see if we leave a fair value gap open here or not. And then if we do, we'll see. We'll need to watch to see if it remains open, trades up through that 15-minute gap, or if it inverts it. If we leave a fair value gap here, since we touched the 15-minute, if we leave a fair value gap and then we invert it, that would be my signal that we're going to go short. Got 10 seconds. I'm going to mark it here. So I want to see what happens in this one. Do we leave it open and go take this swing high, or do we invert it? Here's our key. Here's our, here we go. Let's see. If we invert it and take these lows here, then we're going to head down. Closed inside of it. Yep. I think we're going to head down. So if we get, we're going to get this inversion. And then if we get this fair value gap right here, if we return to this area, I'll probably go short because that'd be a small risk, right? 189 area, 190. Have you stop right above this swing high, which is at the midpoint of the 15-minute fair value gap. I would go short right there. That's what I'm going to look for. $189. And I'll probably target this low or the midpoint of this fair value gap down here. All right. Might leave this little fair value gap open right here. I don't like trading off of just little ones like that, though. I'd want price to come back up here. And it'll be a small risk, like less than 20 points. But it may not make it past this little one. It's just if I take it up here, I'd have such a smaller risk versus entering right now because I'd still have to have my stop up here. So we'll see if we can wick up there around this 186 to 190, and I'll look to short there probably. Well, looks like this little fair value gap right here might be holding up. But I'm not going to immediately short here. I'm going to wait also, again, because on the 5-minute, we still have not been able to close below the midpoint of this fair value gap, this 15-minute. And on the 15-minute, we still haven't either. So I just want to make sure, because we're coming up on 10:20, and sometimes I've seen where we can have a reaction there. But this little fair value gap looks like that's all it needed. Right there. I like this area, though, up here better because it has two PD arrays. Well, a fair value gap and an inversion. $10.20 now. Okay, we finally got a 5-minute bar close below this 15-minute fair value gap. You know, the crazy part is, look at the 5-minute. Here's the 925. Here's the open. No fair value gaps on the 5-minute since the open. Hey, Max. Welcome. Good to see you. You see how we're doing this little bit of accumulation here. If we do come up here, again, I would wait, especially since this area, we keep creating fair value gaps, inverting them, creating them, inverting them, all in this area. So I kind of want to see what we do between this swing high and this swing low right here, like above or below those, this area. So I'm kind of in the feeling of not caring too much what it's doing in between at the moment. Although this 1 minute fair value gap is trying to hold up here and build some resistance. Hello, Jeff. Thank you. Thank you. I do like this, but see, this is where you can get in trouble of our normal, the normal entry and the normal framework and the normal structure and the normalness of everything hasn't really been there today, right? So you can't, you have to be careful of sitting here, and that's why I limit myself to 1 hour of trading, because you start getting into the details of stuff too much, and then you can start creating, excuse me, start creating things that might not really be there, and you really shouldn't focus too deep on. So that's where you just got to be careful getting in your own head and just stay patient. Remember, a day like this, if something doesn't shape up, if you don't really see something that you like, just, stay out. But the reason why, like, I also still want to focus on this swing high and this swing low, because as we saw, this was 10 a.m. We shot down here, right? And in between, that's where we keep inverting, creating fair value gaps, inverting, creating them, inverting them. And this is basically like a little accumulation zone here where, let's say it trades up into here. It might be ready to displace up. It might be ready to displace down. So I kind of would prefer to wait until we get a displacement above or below these swings. Because you don't want to get caught up. Let me zoom out. See, you don't want to get caught up too zoomed in to what's going on. Because if you look at the structure still, it's still low, high, lower, low, high, lower, low. We haven't taken this high or this low. So sometimes when you can get too zoomed in, start looking at things that might not matter as much. And right now, I mean, I'm having a great February. As y'all know, I didn't have The end of my December was not what I wanted, and January ended up not being very good either. It was decent, but it wasn't very good. So, trying to stay on that path of consistency and getting back on that track that I was on all last year. That happens in trading, right? Like, you can't just expect every month, every week to be green. Obviously, you want it to be, but eventually you may have a little downturn. And that's where money management, not trading too large, all that good stuff comes into play. So that way you can withstand those times. See, now, if we get displacement through this low, then I may be interested in something. Because we are building nice support here. This was a nice support. We did touch the inversion. You see that? Right here, we touched the inversion. So there we go, displacing through the low. And we may not come back up here. And that just means I won't take a trade. But if we come back up into here, I may be looking to go short to last month's. Well, it depends what we do in this 15-minute fair value gap, but we'll see if we get this one. And I know some people will say, "Oh, you short the bottom." Well, not really. There's a lot of you got to have targets. If you have targets, you can always zoom out and see where price is drawing to. Yeah, we're definitely likely to continue down and fill this 15-minute fair value gap. Hit this last month's low or high, I'm sorry. So here's another little fair value gap here. We need another 5 minutes, but maybe looking like we're finally trying to get some displacement and fair value gap on the 15-minute. Yeah, I think we go to last month's high. Reaching into this little 1 minute fair value gap. Yeah, exactly, Richard. It's all perspective. Good morning. Nice, David. Good job taking. There's nothing wrong with taking that short in this 1 minute fair value gap here, because I believe we have some targets lower. I just wanted to see it take this little low first. Yeah, and it's you never know. Sometimes I mean, you see the thing is this little 1 minute was pretty much overlapping the midpoint of this 15-minute fair value gap. So once it closed in that lower half, it just had a hard time getting back above the that lower half. You see, and here's the 5 minute where we may be finally getting our first fair value gap there. At this point, I'm not going to take a trade. Because, yeah, I could get in. See, we had this little 1 minute here. It's not like it'll have this accumulation and displace down, and it's not reaching back up to the higher fair value gaps. It's staying in the lower ones, as you can see here. Reached up, came down, left this higher one with this inversion. It didn't come back. It stayed in this lower one. However, it did poke up and tap that inversion right here. And then went down, displace. It's staying in this lower one. It's not reaching up into this one yet. And it may not. See what ES is doing here. ES has not taken out this low yet, that 10 a.m. low. If ES has a market structure shift, then we may get an SMT divergence from ES and NQ. So yeah, it's 10:30. I mean, there's nothing that's like, it may keep going down. It might, respect this fair value gap. You may be able to get a short here. It's not crystal clear for me. So, and it's 10:32 already. So yeah, I got to call it. Let's see what it does here. Let's get rid of this. Thanks, Richard. Took a long, long time, as you know. Now, especially if we take this swing, this little low we just created, I'm 100% not taking a trade. Because at that point, it'll just be, for me, chasing. But really, if we close through this 15-minute fair value gap, I don't see any other way or any where we go except through this last month's high and then potentially to previous day low and the daily fair value gap. Hit in that 1 minute. We immediately rebalance that 5-minute potential fair value gap. Still might not have a 5-minute. So what could happen is we could try to trade back up to this 15-minute one. It's not, I don't love it. So anyways, yep. Even if it drops from here, I'm good. It didn't quite align with my framework. And then when you have, like, let me go back to the 15-minute. So I was looking for that long, right? And we opened and basically sold off. And what happens is I look for a point for it to draw to, and then look for the shift to head up there. And basically what happened is it drew, and then it just keeps going down further and further to each fair value gap that I had drawn out. I erased them, but it keeps going lower and lower, trading into those fair value gaps, those higher time frame ones, and then lower and lower. And for me, I just don't, it's not worth it to trade. Like, yeah, if it would have been traded up into this one, I would have been okay. But too much confliction. I prefer to just wait for those really clear setups that I like. So I mean, yeah, it's and I mentioned this last week, everything goes hand in hand, right? Like your strategy goes hand in hand with your discipline, with your money management. You need all three, working together. You can't have one without the other. So when you know what you're looking for, it becomes easier to wait for it. Um, and and I can't stress enough having a time limit too, because if I sit here all day, I bet I can make myself see something that I like. And it may not be what I actually like. So, yeah. That's a wrap for me, y'all. I will be here tomorrow though, because yes, thanks for pointing out. Tomorrow is the meeting minutes, not the Fed funds rate. I'm okay with trading the meeting minutes, but the same thing, I'm really looking for that first hour. If nothing really shapes up, if nothing's crystal clear, I'm not going to take a trade. And then I won't be here Thursday and Friday. So it's going to be a kind of a short week for me, unfortunately. But hey, that's what happens. And, that's why we trade. So, anyways, okay. So, also, I want to add real quick though before I go. Like every time we do draw into an area, you do have to watch and see if that's where we do have our market structure shift and head up. Okay, so we drew into higher time frame area, this 15-minute fair value gap. If we decide to have market structure shift and everything and head up, I'd be looking to run to this 15-minute fair value gap, right? From this one up to this one, and then see what happens there. Or, like I said, if it continues to go down, then at this last month's high, see what it does there. Continues to go down, wait for this daily fair value gap, previous day low. What does it do there? So that's all I'm doing. Waiting, anticipating price getting somewhere, and then waiting for the reaction. That's literally it. So, all right, y'all, I'm going to hop off here. No trade for me today. See y'all tomorrow. And if you're going to trade for the rest of the day, as always, trade well. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Take care.